Alright, hello, welcome back, good evening, how are you? I hope you are well. And hope you're not suffering from this very small drop, guys. It's not a big deal, realistically speaking. We do have Bitcoin at 113,780 approximately. Yes, we did get a drop, and we are now officially in a downtrend, there's no doubt about it. Highest point from 123,000. Drop this down. That's the downtrend that we are currently seeing. Super trend is also on the way down. Kind of reducing itself from, it was originally around 121,000, right? This has come back down and pointing at 120,597. It's still on its way down. We should probably see this approach, maybe this pivot level at 118,000. We had our drop, which it landed just where I predicted, 112,674. We have a pivot level at 1,000, a pivot support, 1,112,500. And we bounced directly off that level, which is pretty good. Not exactly precise, but close enough. You get the point. I mentioned 112K, we'd find our support level. And here we are. Kind of recovering, which is pretty decent, but I think this is still going to be a prolonged issue, as I previously have mentioned as well. So now the question is, what is next? What is next for the altcoins? What are they doing? What is next for in terms of Bitcoin dominance? Will that continue to rise as, you know, amidst the trade fear, the trade war fear? Will people, you know, will this be a long-term thing? Will altcoin season be delayed once again, or will Bitcoin finally start taking over? I don't know. So here's the thing. Getting a little distracted. All right. So there is probably some market manipulation that has been going on as reported by some users, which we'll get into. Lots has been liquidated, not just in the crypto market, but also in the stock market. The fear from tariffs is something that it spooks the Wall Street investors. And those are the guys that are heavily invested into the crypto market as well, thanks to the power of ETFs and everything else. I know not every cryptocurrency has an ETF, and you're probably wondering, well, if that's the case, why is, you know, let me see, what are the top losers for today? Well, we actually still have top gainers. That's impressive. Anyway, top losers, about 20% drops, 10% drops, right? So one could wonder, what's the big deal here? It's just basically, it gets contagious, I guess, the drops from most stuff. But you'll notice, actually, not everything is dropping. These are very low market cap coins, though. Pengu is up 8%. What? We'll get to that. Yeah, there we go. So I don't think it's going to be too long, maximum till next week. After that, I don't see any other reason why we can maintain a downtrend. Things should resume as normal and continue upward after that. Right now, it's Friday. We got economic data, non-farm payroll data, huge drama over that as well that we'll discuss. And then we're heading into a weekend, long weekend specifically here in Canada. So expect low volatility, right? And we're going to keep that low volatility while being at the bottom this time. So it's going to be probably a good time to accumulate. Bitcoin did reach oversold territory by hitting this 112,000, which I did confirm with you guys. Yes, that is a really good level for entry. If you don't have any DCA just a little bit, you're entering at an oversold opportunity. That doesn't mean it's the only opportunity, because what can eventually happen is, you know, we can rise back again, but we can make a lower low, and then this point will be the oversold one, while, you know, RSI might start looking something like this if we do come across a situation like that, right? So it's just stuff to pay attention to, right? This isn't the only entry, like this isn't the only opportunity. We might have another one in the future. We are in a downtrend. And it takes a while for us to recover. So Yep, I've been warning for this day for a while. We got economic data that it's technically supposed to be good for the markets, but the revisions and the drama around it is what kind of spooked markets once again. But on top of that, we also got market manipulation. So those are the main things I will be discussing later in our news segment when we get there. I'll review the other coins that we've got. Ethereum 3,515. We're at a support level over here. One of the levels I did kind of predict we would drop to, right? And we are officially in a downtrend as well for Ethereum. Yesterday, we were still holding this uptrend, kind of about to break it. And then, yeah. We ended up breaking that. So also oversold opportunity. Great entrance if you didn't have any Ethereum. Not the best one, though. I'm still expecting things to drop a little further more, just in case. And I do have trigger orders, mainly in Solana. I decided to put some trigger orders, which, look at that. How unfortunate is this? I guess I missed this entry by... Alright. Solana's always been doing this to me, by the way. From 159 to 157, $2. I didn't get a perfect bounce entry over here. Could have been making some profit, maybe $60. I don't know. It wasn't too much. Also, I don't know why Perpetual Futures is being weird with me this time around. It's only letting me enter like full values. I can't enter like decimal points for Solana for some reason. Am I missing something around here? I don't really know the reason. Like I could enter decimal points for Bitcoin. Like you should be able to anyway, because Bitcoin's one of the most expensive assets out of all cryptocurrencies. But then, you know, for something like Solana, like... You should still allow me to buy a decimal point of a Solana, whatever. Anyways, we still currently are oversold. But I mean, I'd rather get a 157 entry instead of a 164 entry, if you know what I'm saying. Big volatility still, so I'm expecting price decay. We could return back down to this level. This is an important support for Solana. That's why I decided to put a trigger order over here. And like I said, it's not too much. It's only like $300, 3x leverage, 900 max position total. Would I enter another one? Sure. Probably a little bit lower. Maybe I don't know. Might regret it, but we're still in a sharp downtrend in my opinion. I drew this other downtrend because we might extend the drop for a while longer. I did get hit with some stop losses as well, but those are in positive territory, right? So they don't really impact me negatively, other than the fact that, yeah, I lost the position, but I made a tiny amount of profit on it. Not as much as I could have been making, because when times were good up here, I was in profit. But I decided not to sell because I already sold on the previous rise, like around over here. Not specifically Solana, I'm talking in terms of most other coins. But Solana was a part of it, of course. So I'm still expecting a drop. I'll keep this trigger order here. If we do get that executed, I'll get another one. I don't know. Probably going to have to wait until new pivot levels get generated. Because we are approaching the end of this week. Man, I'm yawning again like crazy. It's always as soon as I start streaming, I have to yawn, like constantly. But anyway. So yeah, Solana stuck there, 164, down 3% today. XRP down 0.47%. Kind of struggling to maintain itself around the $3, but clearly using a support over here at 287. We hit a low of 289. And we're at 297 right now. Trying to get past the $3 mark again, but we have been in a downtrend for XRP for a while. So yeah, there we go. Okay, what's next? SUI down 2.59%. $3.48 is where it's at. I could have put a trigger order here. I think I might have, and then I just ended up deleting it because I think, you know, SUI is a much more volatile asset. So maybe that could happen, and then we just immediately spike back up again. Could be the case, right? Super trend did flip negative as well for it, and using its resistance or invalidation at 405, 406 approximately. So I have my trigger order ready at 313, averaging out these two, right? Fibonacci and support 2. Maybe we hit that during the weekend. Who knows if things could continue dropping. I'm going to be patient with it. Otherwise, if we do break the downtrend or if we lateralize for a while, I think that could be a good entry point. Because for the duration of from now until next week, really it's only the tariff situation. Maybe we get some retaliatory tariff stuff. And then a possible war now with Russia because of threats, nuclear threats. But I think it's all just for show. Like, nothing major will come out of it. So I don't feel too concerned about it. But yeah, I have that trigger order here for Sui. And might put another one over here at 275. Looks very good. Because either way, if we do drop there, we would still technically be in an uptrend. Although a very long-term one. But hey, we have seen Sui drop to those low prices. Don't doubt the fact that crypto can continue to crash. Because it has in the past. So you got to be careful with it. That's why I was not really advocating entering in these top levels. Waiting for the uptrends to break. Now is our time to scout. Okay, how far have we come? And where can we drop to? Those are levels that we could bounce off of. So I'm going to take advantage by putting trigger orders there. Little by little. And if I notice that we break out from these downtrends a little bit too easily or quickly. Or, we start getting some good fundamental news once again. Then that's your cue to start going all in. Not actually, but you know what I mean. All right, moving on. Cardano. Also, I added Chainlink to the mix over here because I like Chainlink. Cardano's on its way down as well, breaking out of these supports, using this uptrend as its kind of last resort over here, but I don't think it's going to hold for much longer. Next up is 66, 67 cents. And that's where I have a trigger order for Cardano, betting on it to drop over here, use this very solid support level to start bouncing up once again. And also it's not a lot of money that I'm putting into it. Just a little bit, because I could be wrong. Maybe we absolutely rip through all these levels and we just crash to something crazy like that, because don't doubt, like I said, crypto does do this kind of stuff. Crazy drops like this, it happens. It absolutely happens. No matter where you think you are. Some drop like that. 21% in a day. It's possible. So you got to be careful with it. Especially if you are already in a downtrend. So, yeah. Alright. Oh man, I'm yawning too much. Chainlink is also in a downtrend and... Oh, really? Okay. I guess I didn't enter this by a penny as well. Not even 66. Yeah, okay. Like 4 pennies. Wait, did I even mention Cardano's price? It's 71.92 for audio listeners. And then Chainlink is on the way down. I did put a trigger order at $15.61. In between Fibonacci and support 2. We had a drop just now, but it unfortunately didn't hit that trigger order. So it was at 1566. Once again, I had it at 1561, almost 62. So just by an inch, I missed it. But I'm confident, it still can continue dropping. And if it does, I don't mind not paying 0.01% of commission for a couple hours while it decides to drop down again. And if it does continue dropping to $14, for example, that's where I would have another support level and also my trigger order. And then one more, the hardest one, at $12.75. So those are the levels I'm waiting for Chainlink. And for the record as well, I also had a trigger order right over here. And it hit. It hit so perfect. I took so much profit from that Chainlink position. I don't remember how far it rose. I think around 16. It was something like this, kind of a rise. Huge profit. I could have waited and, made a lot more, of course, but I'm no genius. I don't know where the price is going to rise or drop to. I could only speculate. So that's all I'm going to say about it. And the Litecoin, it's kind of doing its own thing, actually holding decently strong. compared to the rest. Sure, we just flipped to a downtrend and we bounced down from this. This is our all-time high downtrend resistance, right? So admittedly, that was going to be tough to break out of, but we did kind of try to pierce through it a little bit. So it gives us some bright hopes for the future, meaning that this line should be easy to break out of next time we approach it. Right now, we do have to take a necessary correction before we start accumulating upward again. Is Litecoin a good buy? Not yet. Not at all. It's been holding really strong. I mean, the exit liquidity is kind of there if you're scared and you want to sell off. We're still above 100, right? We're at 107. We reached a high of, what is this, 122? Like, yeah, you'll be missing some percentage points, but I don't know. I wouldn't even sell at this point. I just hold on to it for a while longer. And yeah, that's what we got for those. What else did I do? Did I show you guys this already? Yeah, my pump fund position, my Sonic position. How are those coins even doing? Also, what are these coins doing? We're in a downtrend and all these are rising significantly. That is unacceptable. What is AGT? Okay, crazy rise, yeah. Very positive funding rate. That's also really good. And funding fee gets paid every 4 hours. Seems like a high market cap. Let me check. Never heard of this coin before, though. Oh. Yeah, never mind. $1,000. I mean, not 1,000. 1,000 position in the market cap position. 12 million market cap. Too volatile. I would not enter this. Reason it's rising. Redemption Season 2. AGT Redemption Season 2. Went live today. Enabling token holders to exchange AGT for platform rewards. Creates artificial scarcity. Does it have a max supply or what? How does this work? Yeah, it does, but there's only 1.55 billion in circulation. That could make price drop. It's not on a lot of exchanges, I don't see. Like, it's not listed on Binance. That could probably drive it forward if it does get listed. This is an AI, Alaya governance token, AI. Has to do with AI, okay. Redemption mechanics, low float, volatility through sustainability. It could drop. I'd be cautious with it, though. I'm done with doing that shorting thing after, you know, getting heavily liquidated on something like bananas. Bananas for scale, bananas 31. That was brutal. We are absolutely overbought, though, that is for sure. Hey, maybe you could keep an eye on this. If RSI starts dropping over here below overbought territory, that's probably your sign to enter whenever it does this kind of deal. You would do your short position like that, stop loss over here, let the price drop, and take some profits. You could absolutely do that. I'm going to keep this little weird drawing. What is our top loser today? Nauris. Ooh, this is great. I mean, you could continue shorting this, but you'd be paying a lot of commission. If you bet toward the upside, you'd be getting paid a lot of commission, a lot of funding fees. That would be pretty good. But it's too risky, of course. I wouldn't take the risk. Oh man, this is non-stop dropping. What is this? RDO? Bitcoin. Radio. Number 2000. This is even worse. Market cap of 1 million. Oh man. Anything can blow up this coin. A millionaire can just explode this. Double it in price. High performance blockchain protocol designed to improve scalability and computational efficiency. These seem like they're all AI generated descriptions. Like honestly, who really reads and understands this? Like really? Only one guy bullish on it. How can you be bullish on this? Look at this so I've never seen an RSI this low. 3, 4. Have you ever seen this? Like you pay attention to the RSI numbers over here. That is insane. Never and never have I seen that. Yeah, you probably don't want to continue logging this, but we are at like our very, very low point. This is probably going to go to zero, given the very tiny market cap. What's the funding fees looking like? Really bad as well. 0.05% negative. You'd be paying a lot of commission. Hoping for capital loss in this case. You'd make profits from that. Strange stuff going on. So, yeah, I wouldn't really pay attention much to those. What is RPL? Sounds like it could be Ripple, but I don't think it is. This is somehow maintaining an uptrend. RPL, hold on. Rocket Pool. It's actually pretty high market cap. New contract address. Ethereum execute surge heist. Highlight staking market challenges. I said it was staking then. Infinite max supply. Yeah, that's not for me. Decentralized Ethereum staking pool. It offers up to 4.33% APR for ETH2 staking. Yeah. So avoid taxes as well with this form of staking. All right, why are we down? Oh wow, it actually does its thinking thing over here. So profit taking after a failed breakout attempt by broader market weakness compounded by technical bearish signals. So it's all really just technical stuff. No actual fundamental movement. 94% held by large wallets. Yeah, that's not something you want to be a part of. Checking these out in real time, huh? I mean, it's been on the rise, but it's also had its previous rise and a drop all the way over here. High volatility, though. That's for sure. You're going like to $6 to $8, back down to $6. These are 20% movements. It's pretty high volatility, like I said. You see the support here, right? We're not blind. Okay, let's not hit ourselves over here. You do see that there is some potential toward the upside, right? What do you reckon? Do I risk it? Hang on. Where would this take me? Let me go here. If I was to drop 100. Liquidating at 441. I did not mean to do that. What is this? 441. That's too far low. Give me 10x leverage. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Liquidate at 595. Nope, you're still not speaking my language. Give me 15. 617. Now you're speaking my language. So you get a liquidation price over here. You enter here, and hopefully it rises. You'd only risk $100 with it. Is this a valid risk? What do I get as a profit? What's in it for me? Let's just say it rises, not even all the way. We'll take it halfway. 7.479. What is this? 476. That's $200. That's actually not a lot. What about 853? 450. Still not really worth it in my opinion. You're more than not gonna lose. You're gonna lose the $100 easily there. I'm just gonna change this back to 3x, just in case I get completely destroyed by accident on something else. So okay, well yeah, that's all we really got for those coins. Yep, not much else to say in terms of technical analysis. So we'll move on to our news segment. We do have a lot of stuff to talk about here in terms of non-farm payroll data that just came in. And there was a revision actually on the numbers. The revision is when they revise the previous data and say, hey, wait a minute, that's not right. You actually didn't add that amount of jobs last month. It was a different amount, and then they'll give you the different amount. So in May, the numbers changed from 144,000 jobs. This was 2 non-farm payrolls ago. We were reported that 144,000. Apparently, it was only 19,000 jobs. That is way lower. What happened? And then the month of June, from 147,000 that was reported before to 14,000 jobs, which is also really bad. This looks bad for the Republicans because, you know the story. Trump sees these numbers, 144,000 jobs added, 147,000 jobs added. Look, guys, tariffs are good. Tariffs are improving the economy, unlike what Jerome Powell thinks. That guy doesn't know anything. Fire Powell, get him out of office. Okay, great. 147,000. 144,000 jobs added. Turns out those numbers aren't real. It's actually 19,000 and 14,000, which is pessimistic. It's horrible. Those are really bad numbers, like significantly lower. A downward revision of 258,000 jobs. What happened? Where did all those jobs go? Massive downward job revisions. So there's May and June. That's just vanished data from the data in 2 months. So what happened? The real question is, how can data be overstated by over a quarter million jobs? This 2-month time period and millions in revisions over the course of years. Confidence in economic data is deteriorating, right? That's bad. That's part of the reason why markets dropped. Now, the real numbers that we got for this month, let me pull those up. It was something like 73,000 from a previous, it was 147,000. So the way you're supposed to picture this is, okay, last month we got 147,000 new jobs. We're expecting to add 110,000 because of the rates that we have been increasing at, adding new jobs. But it turns out, hey, no, the 147,000 didn't exist. It was actually 14,000. And we actually got 73,000, which is significantly lower than the 110,000 that we expected. From 73 to 110, still a big difference. And do we even trust this number anymore, the 73? What if next month this also gets revised and says, hey, actually it wasn't 73,000, even though like this is still technically bad economic data. Bad economic data, it happened to weaken the US dollar, right? US economy not as good as expected, and increases the chance of seeing any possible rate cuts again. So we got that hope back. Previously, the chance of us getting a September rate cut was fading away. It was like a 60-40, 60% chance we don't get a rate cut. And that's what the market didn't like, right? If you cut the rates, US dollar weakens and assets go up. But it didn't look like we were going to get the rate cuts. So the US dollar strengthens, your assets will weaken. That's what we had a bit of a crash yesterday. And the day before, because that's when we got the FOMC data, right? Started off with Wednesday where they were saying, there's no guarantee. We'll see what happens with the unemployment data and stuff that we're getting in the upcoming days. Yesterday, inflation was kind of up a little bit just by what they mentioned, which means that, hey, even as tariffs are not fully into effect, they will be from today onward. We're already seeing inflation kind of rise. Goes against what Trump was saying, where Trump would say, look, inflation is dropping and you should cut the rates, right? There's no inflation, practically zero inflation. Cut the rates, right? You should cut it 3%, which is absurd. So I guess the Fed feels like they did a good thing in waiting this whole time because of also partly the delay and the tariffs. Like, oh, we're going to delay it another 90 days. Okay, it was July 9. Now we're delaying it until August 1st. Now that it's August 1st, okay, he said no more delays, and he actually increased some tariffs specifically to Canada. So now we're really going to see the next month what really happens. I feel like every time we're just pushing things forward. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? But there's this whole downward revision of the non-farm payroll data. Like that's something that was probably too late because we found out the job numbers were fake. This means that the US economy was not doing as well as expected. And that should be Fed Hamac. It's a woman, sorry. So she decided, so she's also expecting to see inflation numbers tick up on tariffs. That's been everybody's expectation, right? A tariff is a tax, is what people are saying. It's going to increase the prices for consumers. It's going to, force inflation to have to increase with all those prices to keep up, stuff like that. And we expect to see tariff pass through to prices. Yeah, that's what I was saying. And because of all this now, with the weakening economic data, this is something that we even remember from last year. We always wanted to see bad economic data to see chances of getting rates cut, which at one point the economic data was so bad that they also had to cut rates by 50 basis points. That happened last year. Just felt like an emergency rate cut. Like, oh, we messed up. We should have cut in July, but it seems like now we're cutting in, what was it, September, I think. That's what we had crashes in August and crashes in September last year. So given that situation, now the traders apparently fully resume pricing in the 2 Fed rate cuts by the end of 2025. Because it seemed like after Wednesday and Thursday, there was only going to be 1 rate cut for the rest of this year, according to the CME Fed Watch tool, right? Now, let me check the percentages. Look at that. 80% chance we get a rate cut now, and a 20% chance that rates stay the same. This was 60-40, the opposite direction. 60% chance nothing happens, and a 40% chance we get a rate cut. And if we go to the aggregated results, yeah, it's practically, now the market's priced it in just a little bit. That is why we saw a bit of relief after the economic data this morning. So, we had a drop over here, but then we started rising again and hit 115,000 for Bitcoin, right? We dropped to a low of 113, 114 almost. And then we rose to 100, almost 116, right? But then all this drama started kicking in, like, okay, the revised numbers. What is Trump's response to all this going to be? It was a heavy response, to say the least. So we'll get to that over here. Of course, Trump immediately going off on Powell. Too little, too late. Jerome, too late. Powell is a disaster. Drop the rate. The good news is that tariffs are bringing billions of dollars into the USA. So I guess this is his way to kind of reanimate people, right? To not make them be too depressed over this bad economic data. And he's also just calling him a stubborn moron. He must substantially lower interest rates now. And here's the caps lock. If he continues to refuse, the board should assume control and do what everyone knows has to be done. I'm assuming this means some form of replacement, but how valid is that? Can he really replace Jerome Powell? The answer is no. So who knows what exactly he's planning. Speaking of resignations, though, we actually have a Fed Governor Kugler is going to be resigning August 8. Suspicious. I don't know. I don't know if she was good or bad in terms of, where she would stand in terms of voting for rate cuts or not. But hey, there you go. Maybe some of that pressure is rubbing off on one of the other Fed officials instead of Powell himself. Eventually it could get to Powell, or his term will eventually end next year. Now, this is what Trump had to comment in terms of that non-farm payroll data. He says that in his opinion, today's jobs numbers were rigged in order to make the Republicans and me look bad. Just like when they had 3 great days around the 2024 presidential election, and then those numbers were taken away on November 15, right after the election, when the jobs numbers were massively revised downward, making a correction of over 818,000 jobs, a total scam. Jerome Too Late Powell is no better, but the good news is our country is doing great. I'll explain what this means. This is also something that I mentioned, right, for the thing that happened last year. We were getting so much bad economic data that, markets actually started getting scared that, oh, is there actually going to be a recession? Like, we get it. Like, we do need those rates to get cut. Like now, actually. Otherwise, the market's going to fall into recession. The economy is doing a bad job under Bidenomics. So their way to fix that right after August, September, October, when it came to time for the elections, one of their non-farm payrolls, they reported a huge amount of jobs. Wow, look at this. We added so many jobs. This happened right before the election, November 5th, right? And then after that, it appears November 15, they look at the economic data again and revised it. Same deal that we just saw right now, except that in that case, it was a much bigger amount. 818,000 jobs were corrected. So they basically, also trust issues that we have for them, they lied. You were saying that under, the Democrat Party's economy, we were doing really well with the jobs data. But now it seems like that also got revised and you were only inflating those numbers, pumping them up to make yourself look good, during the election. And then after the election, you're like, yeah, whatever, screw it, we'll revise it. And it's actually not that case. So I don't know. I don't know about that stuff. And then it prompts the investigation. Okay, who is really responsible for giving these numbers? Because it does clearly seem kind of one-sided by the looks of things. It looks like you're trying to favor Democrats over Republicans. You're inflating these numbers and then revising them tremendously to make Republicans look bad at a time like this. And that's what Trump did. Trump says that he is now firing the Commissioner of Labor Statistics after the May and June jobs reports were revised lower by a massive 258,000 jobs today. Trump says job numbers are being produced by a Biden appointee who faked jobs numbers. And this is his explanation out in a Truth Social post. I was just informed that our country's job numbers are being produced by a Biden appointee, Dr. Erica McIntyre, the Commissioner of Labor Statistics, who faked the jobs numbers before the election to try and boost Kamala's chances of victory. That is true, that did happen. This is the same Bureau of Labor Statistics that overstated the jobs growth in March 2024 by approximately $818,000, and then again right before the 2024 presidential election in August and September by 112,000. Like I mentioned, those 2 months were also months that we were crashing significantly because of fear of recession. But ultimately, we overcame that, thanks, I guess, partly to those inflated numbers that are like, hey guys, look, the economy isn't so bad as you think. Anyway, no one can be that wrong. We need accurate jobs numbers. I've directed my team to fire this Biden political appointee immediately. She will be replaced with someone much more competent and qualified. Important numbers like this must be fair and accurate. They can't be manipulated for political purposes. McIntyre said there were only 73,000 jobs added, which is a shock, but more importantly, that a major mistake was made by them. 258,000 jobs downward in the prior 2 months. Similar things have happened in the first part of the year, always to the negative. The economy is booming under Trump despite a Fed that also plays games, this time with interest rates, where they lowered them twice and substantially just before the presidential election, I assume in the hopes of getting Kamala elected. How did that work out? Jerome, too late Powell, should also be put out to pasture. Thank you for attention to this matter. Yeah, I kind of agree with that portion of it as well. The fact that, okay, it's true. Like, it does seem one-sided, those job reports, those numbers. It's suspiciously favorable to Democrats. And then the fact that they're getting revised and you see the lies after, you can kind of see what's going on. A Biden appointee, sure. Trying to get Kamala Harris to win, sure. Cutting rates 50 basis points in one meeting, right before the election as well to try to improve the economy when it was clearly doing bad and suffering. That's why our lowest point of 2024 for Bitcoin, one of our lowest points, was August 5, right? Huge crash. Right over here. You can, no, not that one. It's this one. Right over here, August 5. This one was thanks to Trump. April 7, Liberation Day tariffs. And hey, guess what we're experiencing right now? Tariffs as well. So Yeah. I think we might continue lower. I don't know. That's why I'm going to give it a week. We'll give it a week to see what happens. What do these tariffs really do? Especially this weekend. It's going to be such low volatility. So I don't know. We'll see. And he just fired that person who revised the job reports number down by 258,000. And he's questioning if the July numbers are real, calling the 73,000 jobs numbers a shock, only to conclude by saying that Powell should be put out to pasture. So yeah, that's what we were saying. Do we even trust this number? Is it actually higher or is it actually lower than this? Because these numbers are painfully low. 14,000 jobs, shocking low. And then, what was it, 19,000 for the other one? I don't remember the number. But yeah, you get the point. So that's the big drama that's been going on for non-farm payrolls. Crazy day. Okay. So now we have a statement from Prime Minister Carney on the Canada-US trade, which I also do want to go over and read because it seems like he left this all to last minute. The guy that was supposed to stand to Trump and, you know, elbows up and he's going to fight Trump and he's going to, you know, the strongest candidate to stand up against Trump. I disagree with it, but it is what it is. He's a very good friend of the Europeans. That's why he's been really trying to partner up with the European Union, right? Kind of staying away from the United States when I feel like it should be the opposite way around. We're supposed to independendize ourselves from Europe because that's why Canada and United States are what they are. They independendize themselves from England and France or whatever. And then now we're, you know, Canada-US with this trade war. It makes Canada look away from the United States and toward Europe. That's why we've kind of been following in their footsteps. And Mark Carney, like I said, he worked for Bank of England. Not Bank of England, Bank of Europe. Bank of England. European Central Bank. No, it's Bank of England. I'm mixing up my names. Yeah, and so of course he's friends with the UK. France, of course, because second language is French in Canada. That's part of the reason why France, Macron, decides to recognize the state of Palestine, announcing that he's planning to do that at the next United Nations meeting, and so does England. Trump remains unbothered by that because he doesn't like Europe anyway. But when it came to Canada, that's when Trump actually put out a statement and saying, wow, I can't believe Canada just did that. The fact that they're going to plan to recognize Palestine as, you know, the two-state solution to the Middle Eastern conflict, right? We're seeing UK sending aid to Gaza, and so is Canada now. They're doing the same things. Canada's doing the exact same things as the Europeans. Oh my gosh. And Trump is not having any of that. So as punishment, he rose those tariffs to 35%. A lot of people didn't see the real reason. They kind of questioned, like, okay, it seems like a last minute thing to do, but you're raising the tariffs on Canada. Yeah, that's partly the reason why. That Palestine thing, and also the fact that Mark Carney was leaving things to kind of the last minute. He did mention, of course, he did try coming to Washington to discuss a trade deal. Ultimately, nothing came of it, and he said that he didn't feel like that deadline, August 1st, was enough time to get any trade deals in. I think it is enough time. I don't know. A lot of other countries were able to do it. But anyway, that's just my personal opinion. Now he's been trying to contact Trump, and Trump's like, nope, you're getting a 10% increase on your tariff, so enjoy. So, yay. Canada gets a 35% tariff. Now, this is what he posted on it. President Trump announced that the United States will increase its tariff to 35% on those Canadian exports that are not covered under the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, or the CUSMA. While the Canadian government is disappointed by this action, we remain committed to CUSMA, which is the world's second largest free trade agreement by trading volume. The U.S. application of CUSMA means that the U.S. average tariff rate on Canadian goods remains one of its lowest for all of its trading partners. Other sectors of our economy, including lumber, steel, aluminum, and automobiles, are, however, heavily impacted by U.S. duties and tariffs. For such if you don't know, Trump also has higher tariffs on those specific things. The Canadian government will act to protect Canadian jobs, invest in our industrial competitiveness, buy Canadian, and diversify our export markets. I disagree with this stuff, man. Just get the trade deal done. Who cares about buy Canadian? It's even more expensive to do like interprovincial trade, something that Pierre Poilievre was planning to fix, right? So, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is also a talking point by Carney at some point during the electoral race. Um, but I think he was just stealing Pierre's talking points. Honestly, a lot of it was stealing Pierre's talking points. But yeah, you get the point. The United States has justified its most recent trade action on the basis of the cross-border flow of fentanyl, despite the fact that Canada only accounts for 1% of U.S. fentanyl imports and has been working intensively to further reduce these volumes. Then why is that still the case? Anyway. Canada's government is making historic investments in border security to arrest drug traffickers, take down transnational gangs, and end migrant smuggling. Sure, that is part of it. These include thousands of new law enforcement and border security officers, aerial surveillance, intelligence and security operations, and the strongest border legislation in our history. I don't know. We will continue working with the United States to stop the scourge of fentanyl and save lives in both our countries. Okay, so if that is the basis of the deal, the fentanyl tariff that he's putting on, right? I don't know. We got to start seeing some good results. And this 1% thing, okay, I don't know. Maybe Trump is crazy. Maybe Carney's not putting in the effort. Maybe the numbers are fake. While we will continue to negotiate with the United States on our trading relationship, the Canadian government is laser focused on what we can control. Building Canada strong. Well, clearly we're not. We're sending aid to other countries. The federal government, provinces, and territories are working together to cut down trade barriers to build one Canadian economy. That is the talking point from Pierre that I mentioned. We're developing a series of major nation-building projects with provincial, territorial, and Indigenous partners. Together, these initiatives have the potential to catalyze over $500 billion of new investments in Canada. I hope so. Canada will be our own best customer, creating more well-paying careers at home as we strengthen and diversify our trading partnerships throughout the world. We can give ourselves more than any foreign government can ever take away by building with Canadian workers and by using Canadian resources to benefit all Canadians. This whole interprovincial thing, the basis of this concept is the fact that if I was to send from Ontario some form of a product into a different province like Quebec, it actually costs more to do that than if Quebec just imports it from France or from England or from the United States or wherever, like some specific products, right? It has to do with that. So taking down that trade barrier, free trade within our own country, that's supposed to kind of improve things, which, sure, that is one thing I could agree with. But we need to see it implemented, and now. And also that tariff thing with the United States would be also nice to not have tariffs on any United States products. All right, moving on to Russia, Ukraine. Trump says that he has just been informed that almost 20,000 Russian soldiers died this month in the ridiculous war with Ukraine. Russia's lost 112,500 soldiers since the beginning of the year. That is a lot of unnecessary death. I agree, that is a lot of people. Ukraine, however, has also suffered greatly. They have lost approximately 8,000 soldiers since January 1st, and that number does not include their missing. Ukraine also has lost civilians, but in smaller numbers, as Russian rockets crash into Kyiv and other Ukrainian locales. This is a war that should have never happened. And now Trump is pushing the blame over to Biden, saying that this is Biden's war, not Trump's. I'm just here to see if I can stop it. And Trump was confident enough when he entered office that he could get this war ended in 24 hours. And it seemed like he was on the right path. The ceasefire, peace deal, where it was something along the lines of Ukraine is not allowed to join NATO for 20 years, which should temporarily relieve Russia because they don't want Russia doesn't want Ukraine joining NATO. They would get to keep their territories, or I don't know, Europe would have to start investing into that war to keep those areas safe, that border, and that we would stop giving Ukraine, or no, something like we would give Ukraine just defensive capabilities, not offensive, stuff like that. I think. Just so that they can ensure that they are being protected in case Russia decides to be aggressive again, which they shouldn't. There should be no need to if they can't join NATO for another 20 years. We'll sweep it under the carpet and leave it to other stuff. And then for Ukraine also, we'll be getting their minerals, the rare earth mineral deal, because of all that money that we gave them during the Biden administration, which was a lot of money. But ultimately, none of that worked out, so it's only up to them. They said they don't want the United States involved in the peace deals, so Trump's like, okay, you guys are going to have to do something. Now Trump is attacking Russia through India by adding tariffs to India on stuff that India would buy from Russia. They're one of their biggest customers. So that way, even India would get incentivized to help push this war to an end because they don't want to get those tariffs. And they're always, as long as they're making any sort of trade with Russia, of course, they're kind of part of BRICS. They're both in there. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. So, that's another good way to pressure them to end the war. But former President of Russia, Medvedev, started giving us some unnecessary comments like, oh, be careful, we've got the dead hand, we've got nukes, don't mess with us, United States, you don't know what you're talking about. And then Trump, of course, did not take that lightly and said, you know what, we're totally prepared for nuclear war with Russia. And as a matter of fact, based on the highly provocative statements of the former president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, who is now the deputy chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, Trump has now ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions, just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that. Words are very important and can often lead to unintended consequences. I hope this will not be one of those instances. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So there you go. Trump's taking it very seriously and telling, hey, I'm being serious. Don't mess around. The way Russia's been treating this is like, oh, Trump says in 50 days we got to end this war. It's just going to be a nothing burger. The same way what happened to the war ending in 24 hours after January 20 when Trump gets inaugurated. That didn't happen. So clearly he's just full of it. He's calling her bluff. So we're just going to do nothing. And it shows. They showed no intention of working a ceasefire deal. And honestly, yeah, 50 days was a bit of a long time. Even I was like, okay, what are we going to get done in 50 days? Why didn't it get pushed a little bit sooner? And then Trump mentioned that 10 to 12 days we'll be giving them. He mentioned that while he was over there in Scotland, which was, I don't know, July 26. Add 10 days to that. 5, 8, yeah. What is it? August 5. When is August 5? That's a Tuesday. Mondays 4. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm going to wait until next week. The 10 to 12 days are up just to see what happens with this whole deal. And I mentioned this before as well. It's not that Russia-Ukraine has always really had a significant impact on the market, but it's something that's going to, bother us. It's in the way. So I'm going to wait for that to clear up. I don't want to get caught up in another, huge crash because of these people getting angry and maybe even threatening to use nukes on each other because, well, now there you go. We have 2 nuclear submarines in the region of Russia, and we keep sending weapons and money to Ukraine because they really need it, is what he's saying. I don't know. They gotta find a way to end that war. Also, those amount of deaths, not cool. Like, I feel for that. All right. These are the days though that you do kind of want to buy. So you buy when there's blood on the streets. My personal tip to you, whenever you see these headlines, over $1.1 trillion was wiped out of the stock market today. Over a billion in the crypto market today. That's the time you really want to buy. Now, why is it dropping? People are saying, oh, $1 billion in crypto liquidations today. It's due to Trump tariffs and the weak job data. Literally what I was just explaining to you. But that's probably not all. And it has to do with maybe market manipulation getting in the mix over here. And that is what this analyst has been saying. I wouldn't go to this extreme that the people are clueless because this is part of the reason. Sure, it's an excuse for the market manipulators to use this and force markets to drop a lot. He says that he showed us on chain what happened today and it has nothing to do with Trump. And this is what he's referring to. So this is specifically for Ethereum. And this is data from today. This shows all the Ethereum flow from centralized exchanges. So from Binance, Coinbase, Bybit, Circle, WeX, Upbit, BingX, Mexi, Hyperliquid. Where is all this Ethereum going to? And we put it to market makers. You probably heard of Wintermute, very popular one. There's a ton over here. I'm not going to read all of them, but you get the point. And you'll notice who are these big players, the people that have the most amount of Ethereum. And it's not just Ethereum, of course. This could go with any asset. It can do with Solana, can do with Bitcoin. So you're noticing from Coinbase sent over to Wintermute. These are market maker wallets. This is just market manipulation. They're selling it off like this, getting it out of the exchanges. Yeah. So it's clearly market manipulation also. And these are huge quantities, right? And also getting sold in Solana as well. Yep. Solana and Ethereum. Yeah. So there you go. That's all really the news I have today. This is a really funny one, actually. There's a coin that came out called Alpha, and they actually drew the word alpha out on the chart, manipulating the price action. That's interesting, and I just wanted to verify if this is true. Does this even exist here? Probably not. Alpha. Oh my gosh, it does. This is probably not it, though. Definitely not it. Yeah, it's definitely not it. This is a different one. Yeah, it's a different alpha. Let me find. It's probably on CoinMarketCap. I could probably find alpha. I wonder which one it is. So many called alpha already. Probably it has to be a low market cap coin, right? Surely. Alpha, wrapped Ethereum. Okay, you're using wrapped Ethereum, first of all, so it's not with USDT. Can we just search this? Nope, we can't. How am I going to find this? Maybe creating view. I don't know where else to find this. And what time frame are you using? 1 minute. Okay, they're doing this in a 1 minute time frame. Do I even have access to that? What do I do here? /wheat. Oh, no, that's not. Where? That's not going to find that. Probably on Uniswap. It could be this. No, I don't think it is. And it also looks like you're looking at market cap over here. Yeah, this is market cap. I don't know. I just wanted to see if this was real or not. This is the alpha that's on BingX. What is the current market cap looking like? 100,000? I'm assuming that's what the market cap is, 100,000. These are in the millions. X alpha, alpha cat, alpha coin. The ticker is just like the actual word alpha. So that's... Could be this. Could be Alpha Labs. 27K. Could be this. Could be this. Could be that. And we're looking at market cap with wrapped Ethereum. This does not exist at all. This also does not exist. This also does not exist. Okay, never mind. I can't really find it. Last attempt. Here, this one. No, there's nothing on here. I couldn't find it. Whatever. So maybe this isn't even real. I don't even know. Okay, cool. But that's, yeah, chart work. Pretty funny stuff. You can see with it. Man, this also has been crashing, by the way. Okay, yeah, that'll be all for this stream then. If you want my recommendations, although I don't give recommendations, Chainlink was a good point. I'm upset that this did not get triggered. But did I also have Cardano? Cardano is the next good one. Sui is the next position that I plan to enter. Probably should have entered over here, realistically speaking, but maybe I could have regretted that if this could continue dropping, and that is kind of what I'm expecting to do. So, Sui. And then Solana also upsetting that this did not get hit. But it is what it is. We'll wait for the weekend. Alright. And then pretty sure next week we're not getting any important economic data. Like, it's going to be so boring. Monday, nothing. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, nothing. Thursday, Friday, nothing. We're getting unemployment data for Canada. I'm part of that. Tuesday next week, inflation rate. CPI. And are we getting PPI Thursday? Okay. So the week after will be a little bit more important. But yeah. Yeah, honestly, by next week itself, I think it's safe to wait until maybe Tuesday. I would be back by Wednesday, probably. Just trying to think ahead over here. And maybe we get some sort of a resolution by Wednesday for that Russia-Ukraine thing. And then what else is there to be really scared about? Like, I think we could recover from wherever we are right now, right? That could have been the bottom. Could have been, absolutely. I mean, Bitcoin's still technically oversold if you really, really want to be entering. That was a good chance. You know what? Matter of fact, just to leave you guys, not leave you guys with nothing, I'll enter $300 on Bitcoin right here. Boom. It's not going to make me a lot of money, but I don't expect it to anyway. So we'll leave that there. 113,000 entry on Bitcoin. Just to keep you guys happy. There you go. Make sure you leave a like on the video for that one, because that cost me $300. Could see a bounce. If not, it is what it is. I'm not too concerned about this anyway, because, like, you're expecting Bitcoin to get this position to get liquidated at 76,000, which you're not going to see that happen. 3x leverage? Who are you kidding? But also, like, if this does rise, you're not making a lot of money either. Bitcoin is not going to rise too much. 120,000. I make $50 from this. Brother. Okay. Yeah, that's all then. All right.